The groom didn't know I was standing outside the door. If I hadn't paused to catch my breath, I would have missed the sentence that destroyed everything. "I'll marry her today," he said quietly. "But I love someone else. My name is Grace, and at 65 years old, I believed I understood pain. I'd buried my husband. I'd survived cancer. I'd learned how to sit alone in quiet houses and pretend loneliness was peace. But nothing, not a single thing prepared me for what I heard on the morning of my daughter's wedding. The venue was already alive. White chairs lined the garden like obedient soldiers. Roses climbed the arches. Somewhere below me, violins practiced the same hopeful melody again and again, as if love were something you could rehearse into existence. My daughter Ella was getting married, and I was holding a small velvet box with pearl earrings inside, something old, something borrowed, something meant to make her smile. I never reached her, because as I passed the groom's suite, I heard his voice, low, confident, careless. "I'll go through with it," he said. "The wedding, the photos, all of it." There was a pause. Then a laugh. "But don't worry, Lena, you know it's you I loves." My feet froze. My hand tightened around the box until the edges dug into my palm. "Lena, not my daughter. I just need to play this right," he continued. "Grace trusts me. Ella adores me. After today, everything changes." My heart pounded so hard I thought he'd hear it through the wall. This man Max had sat at my table, had eaten my food, had let me hug him like a son. And here he was, calmly explaining how he planned to build his future on my daughter's back. I felt dizzy. I leaned against the wall, my reflection staring back at me from a framed mirror-gray hair neatly pinned. Lipstick slightly smudged, eyes already wet. I wanted to burst into that room. I wanted to scream, but then another thought crept in quiet. Dangerous. What if I was wrong? What if I destroyed my daughter's wedding over a misunderstanding? Max's voice dropped even lower. "She'll never find out," he said. "Ella believes everything I tell her." That's when something inside me broke. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I felt cold. And in that cold, I understood one terrifying truth. If I said nothing, my daughter would marry a lie. If I spoke up, I might lose her forever. I turned away from the door, pearls still clenched in my fist, and walked back down the hallway with a smile no one questioned. The wedding was starting, and I had a decision to make. I raised Ella alone after her father died. She was 12 when the heart attack took him, and from that day on, I learned how to be two people, mother and father, comfort and discipline, strength and softness. Ella grew into a gentle woman. Too gentle. She believed love was something you earned by being good enough. That's why Max fit so perfectly into her world. He was charming without trying, soft-spoken, always polite. He remembered my birthday, fixed loose cabinets, called me mom within 6 months. I wanted to believe in him. God knows I did. When Ella announced their engagement, she glowed, said she'd never felt safer with anyone. That word haunted me now. Safe. I spent the weeks before the wedding pushing aside small discomforts, the way Max avoided hard conversations, how he never talked about his past, how his phone never left his side. And Lena, I'd heard the name once before. Old friend, he'd said casually when I asked. I believed him, because believing was easier, standing at the back of the garden as guests took their seats. I watched Max greet people with the same practiced smile. He looked calm, handsome, ready. A liar rarely looks nervous. Ella appeared moments later, radiant in white. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. "Mom!" she whispered, hugging me tightly. I'm so happy. My throat closed. I wanted to protect her like I did when she was small. When nightmares sent her running into my room. When scraped knees felt like the end of the world. But this pain, this would be deeper, permanent. The officiant cleared his throat. I sat down. I said nothing. The vows began. As Max spoke about devotion and honesty, I studied his face. He didn't falter, didn't hesitate. That terrified me more than the lie itself, because it meant he was good at this. When Ella said I do, her voice shook with emotion. When Max said it, his didn't. Applause erupted. Just like that, my daughter became a wife, and I became the keeper of a secret that burned heavier with every passing minute. The reception was worse. Laughter, toasts, dancing. I watched Max hold Ella like something precious while knowing he'd already given his heart away. That's when Lena appeared. I recognized her instantly. She was too calm, too confident. She didn't look like a guest, she looked like someone waiting for her moment. Our eyes met across the room, and she smiled. Not warmly, not politely, like she knew exactly who I was, like she knew what I knew. Later, she approached me near the bar. "You must be Grace," she said sweetly. I nodded. "I am Lena, Max S. Friend. Friend." Her hand lingered a second too long when we shook. "He talks about you," she added. "Says you're very trusting." That was the moment I understood. This wasn't just betrayal. It was planned, and if I didn't act soon, my daughter would pay the price for my silence. I didn't confront Max that night. I watched. I listened. I learned. Over the following weeks, I noticed things Ella didn't. Max's late nights, the excuses, the sudden work trips, and Lena always just out of sight but never truly gone. I followed my instinct. One afternoon, while Max was away, I asked Ella to show me wedding photos on her laptop. An email notification popped up from Lena. My hands trembled, but I clicked. There were messages, photos, plans, proof. Undeniable. I felt sick. That evening, I asked Max to sit down with me. Just the two of us. "I know about Lena," I said calmly. His face went pale. For the first time, he looked afraid. "She means nothing," he lied. I slid the laptop toward him. Silence filled the room. "I loved you like a son," I continued. "But if you hurt my daughter, I will make sure she knows the truth." He begged, promised, cried. I didn't believe a word. So I did the hardest thing a mother can do. I told Ella. She didn't scream. She didn't cry at first. She just sat there, staring at the wall like someone had turned off the light inside her. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. "I want him gone." Max moved out that night. The divorce was quick, painful, but clean. Months later, Ella stood taller, stronger, wiser. One afternoon, as we drank tea in the same kitchen where she once cried over him, she reached for my hand. "Thank you for telling me," she said, even when it hurt. I squeezed her fingers. Love doesn't always protect us from pain. Sometimes, it protects us through it. And as I watched my daughter rebuild her life, I learned something too. Silence can destroy families. But truth, even when it breaks hearts, can save them. Sometimes, the bravest thing a mother can do is speak. People think the hardest moment is when the truth comes out. It isn't. The hardest part is what comes after. When the noise fades, when the house grows quiet, when everyone expects you to move on as if betrayal has an expiration date. After Max left, the apartment felt unfamiliar. Not empty wrong. Like furniture had shifted when no one was looking. Ella slept in the guest room for weeks. She said the bed smelled like him. I didn't argue. Grief doesn't follow logic. Every morning she woke up early and went for long walks. Every evening she returned exhausted, as if distance alone could carry pain away. I watched her carefully, not like a spy, like a mother who knows wounds can reopen without warning. Friends called. Some offered support, others offered advice no one asked for. At least you found out early. Some marriages survive worse. Maybe he was just confused. Those people didn't get invited back. One afternoon, Ella finally spoke the words I'd been waiting and dreading to hear. "Mom," she said quietly, staring into her tea. "Why didn't I see it?" I reached for her hand. "Because you trusted," I answered, and there is nothing shameful about that. She nodded, but tears slid down anyway. That night, after she went to bed, I cried for the first time since the wedding. Not loudly, just enough to let the pain know I hadn't forgotten it. 3 months passed. The divorce finalized quickly. Max didn't fight it. He didn't even pretend to be offended. That told me everything I needed to know. He sent Ella a single message afterward. "I never meant to hurt you." She didn't respond. Neither did I, though I wanted to, because some people mistake silence for weakness. They don't realize it's restraint. Then, one evening, something unexpected happened. Lena showed up, not at Ella's door, at mine. I opened it to find her standing there in a neat coat, makeup perfect, eyes sharp and calculating. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. "I thought it was time we talked," she said. I stepped aside and let her in, because if she thought I was afraid of her, she was already wrong. She looked around my living room like someone assessing property. "So," she began, sitting down without being invited, "I suppose you think you won." I folded my hands and met her gaze. "This isn't a game," I said. She laughed softly. "Oh, Grace, everything is a game. Some people just don't know they're playing." There it was, the arrogance. She leaned forward. "Max and I go way back," she said. Ella was convenient, stable. He needed a fresh start. I felt my jaw tighten. "And you?" I asked. "What did you need?" Her smile faded just slightly. "To be chosen." That single crack told me more than all her confidence. "You weren't," I said calmly. "You were hidden." She stood abruptly. "You ruined everything," she snapped. "No," I replied. "I told the truth." She stared at me for a long moment, then scoffed. "He'll come back to me," she said. "Men always do." I walked to the door and opened it. "Then why are you here?" I asked. She left without answering. I locked the door behind her and exhaled. That was the last time I saw Lena. But not the last time I felt the consequences of her presence. Max tried to come back, not to Ella, to me. He called one afternoon, his voice hesitant. "Grace," he said, "I just wanted to explain." "No," I replied. "You wanted absolution." Silence stretched between us. "I loved her," he insisted weakly. "You loved what she gave you," I corrected. "That's not the same." He sighed. "I didn't think you'd turn her against me. That did it." "I didn't turn her against you," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "You revealed yourself." He didn't call again, and I knew he wouldn't, because men like Max only apologize when it benefits them. Slowly, Ella began to change. Not back into who she was, but into someone new, stronger. She enrolled in a course she'd always postponed, started laughing again. Not often, but honestly. One evening she surprised me. "I think I want to move," she said. My heart skipped. "Where?" "Somewhere that doesn't remember him," she replied. "Somewhere I can be just me again." I smiled, even though it hurt. "I think that's a beautiful idea." She hugged me tightly. "You saved me," she whispered. I shook my head. "No," I said. "You saved yourself." I just refused to lie to you. The final piece of closure came quietly. A letter arrived one morning, addressed to Ella. She hesitated before opening it, then handed it to me. "You read it first?" she said. It was from Max. An apology, a confession, an explanation filled with excuses. At the bottom, one sentence stood out. "Lena left. She said I chose wrong." I folded the letter and handed it back. Ella didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply nodded. "Good," she said softly. Now I know it wasn't about me, and that was the moment I knew she'd truly healed. Months later, we attended another wedding, not as guests, as witnesses to hope renewed. As we sat together, Ella leaned toward me. "Mom," she said, smiling gently, "if I ever ignore my instincts again, promise you'll stop me." I squeezed her hand. "I promise." The music swelled. The bride smiled, and for the first time in a long while, my heart felt light, because love doesn't always mean staying silent. Sometimes love means telling the truth, even when it costs you everything. And sometimes, what survives after the truth is something stronger than what came before.